The news, good evening. The leader of the opposition in the National Assembly, Sebastien Pile, says that the 2022 budget address shows that the LDS government is doing the opposite of what his government was doing when they were in power. Mr. Pile made these comments in his response to the 2022 budget address delivered by Finance Minister Nadi Hassan last Friday. He pointed out that Minister Hassan did not address the issue of poverty, the increase in prices, and the cost of living.
What I have been successful in doing this morning is to compare and contrast from one United States Associated Government, our policies, our approaches that we took in ensuring that we brought development to people, in doing take people to development, and how we always structured our development to ensure that those who earn less in society pay less, and those who earn more pay a little bit more. This is in direct contradiction to what this current government is doing, and in the address that the Minister for Finance read to the Assembly, it is clear. When you look at the issue of allowances that the ministers have given themselves, you get to understand how this government is not really thinking about how the ordinary worker is going to face the current situation in terms of the cost of living.
For his part, when reacting to the 2022 budget, the leader of a government business in the National Assembly, Mr. Bernard Georges, has made an appeal for more unity when it comes to issues of national interest. Mr. Georges says that everybody has a role to play in rebuilding the economy and that the budget proposal for 2022 has laid the foundation for more economic growth.
There are three broad themes to my speech. First of all, that we came and we told the people exactly what the situation was before the elections, and we asked them to vote for us. We didn't hide anything. We told them that there would be difficulties, and if they wanted to vote for us, we would ensure that we came out of the difficulties. The second theme was we were elected for 5 years, not for 1 year, so don't expect that everything will happen from budget to budget. You must look at it over a 5-year period. And thirdly, that what this budget is doing is it has improved the situation and it is sowing the seeds for future growth.
And still in regard to the 2022 budget, the reactions of the two leaders, that of the opposition leader and the leader of government business, will be rebroadcast on SBC2 at 8 p.m. this evening. The Supreme Court has ruled that the 6 suspects in the case where over 142 kilograms of drugs was seized on board a boat early this month remain on remand for another 14 days. The suspects are charged with drug trafficking and human trafficking. Chief Justice Ronnie Govindan said the suspects could escape and interfere with investigations or have contacts with witnesses or other possible suspects who are still free. And due to the gravity of this unprecedented case, which appears to be the work of an organized crime, the Chief Justice has taken this step to ensure that the police continue their investigation. A 57-year-old lady from Nouvelle Valley, Beauvallon, has been found dead this morning near her home. The police say initial investigations show no signs of malicious acts leading to the death of the lady, who was apparently suffering from some health problems. The police were notified of the incident at around 7:50 this morning and awaits the autopsy report. The Minister for Agriculture, Climate Change and Environment, Flavien Joubert, says he is not happy with the outcome of the biggest conference on climate change that was held from the 1st to the 12th of November. What started with high expectations ended with nothing much being committed to, especially by the countries emitting the most carbon in the atmosphere. But on a more positive note, the Seychelles delegation was able to have bilateral discussions with the Commonwealth Adaptation Fund, nationally determined contributions partnerships for financial and technical support, which he said is to have been positive.
We had discussion with FAO, and we expect very soon a mission from FAO. to Seychelles to discuss in more detail with our local partners on how we can support the local farming community to adapt to climate change. The Seychelles and also the other small island developing states that form part of AOCIS, we are not 100% happy with the outcome. We are quite disappointed in some instances because the ambition that was communicated at the very beginning were not carried through to the end, and we realize that the amount of progress that we've made in the past few years should have been much more, and we would like to see a lot more commitment and a lot more action, especially by the big emitters. We've seen some declarations that point in the right direction, for example, on forest, on coal, on subsidy for fossil fuels, on financing, and on loss and damage. But despite the fact that they are pointing in the right direction, the amount of commitment under those different declarations, they are not sufficient, and we are not happy with the way they've been presented. And very importantly for us, the commitments that's been presented in the different NDC reports, they would not lead us to containing this 1.5 degrees C, 1.5 degrees Celsius target.
The United Nations Coordinator for Seychelles, Mrs. Christine Omutoni, extended her first courtesy visit to President Revel Ramkalawan today at the State House. Mrs. Omutoni, who is currently based in Mauritius, was accompanied on her visit by several health officials. She congratulated Seychelles on the smooth transition that occurred after the election and the ongoing success of the vaccination campaign. She also added that she recognizes the effort and engagement of Seychelles towards the blue economy.
So I bring a message of congratulations from the UN Secretary General to the new government, especially for a very fair and free elections, a very peaceful transition, a good example to the African continent, especially where we know that in some countries when there is election, we see conflict, we see war, we see misery. So Seychelles stands out as those countries that have gone through an election, have done a transition, and it was totally peaceful. So this was a great message. Also to congratulate Seychelles for a big campaign on vaccination. COVID has been a challenge in many countries, and one of the ways in which we are trying to cope, being able to open the economies and live with the virus, is to do a big campaign on the vaccination. Again, Seychelles is number one on the African continent, having vaccinated more people of its own population. So this is also a message thank you from the UN Secretary General. We also again commend Seychelles for being a leader in the blue economy and the green economy. And now we are coming from COP26 on environment and adaptation. Again, looking forward to continuing to work in many of these areas with this country. We know that it's been a challenge for small island states to cope, and we are really advocating for the world, for the partners, to see that countries like Seychelles, who are small island states, continue to get the assistance and to consider the vulnerabilities, the special vulnerabilities to climate change, to small island states and to other shocks, so that there is continued support. So the UN has about 20 agencies that are doing some program here, so it is important to do the.
And also at the State House today, the ambassador of Japan for Seychelles, Hori Ryoichi, bid farewell to President Ramkalawan this morning. Ambassador Ryoichi, who was accompanied by his wife, has been in office for 2.5 years. He stated that the good relationship that exists between Seychelles and Japan will continue, and that Japan will remain loyal in assisting Seychelles, particularly in the health department. And with this, we've come to the end of this news summary. Join me at 8 for the news in Creole.